13th day, February, right after the Super Bowl. Sorry, folks, I'm getting a little late to get started here, but going to be all set right for right now. Going to give you a good scope, bad scope. Didn't do that last week. I got distracted on a lot of other things. A couple announcements. Jeffrey Deskovic will be back tomorrow. He'll be back tomorrow. The man who came on and talked about his story of getting wrongfully accused of a rape and a murder. Great story, great interview. He Jeffrey, if you're watching now, got a lot of good feedback from your interview. Jeffrey's going to come back on tomorrow at 30 minutes after the hour, 8:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Central. Going to get his analysis on the trade deadline and, of course, this big Super Bowl. 113 million people watch the Super Bowl. So, going to give you my thoughts on what happened and all that. A good scope, bad scope, a few other news and notes that I gathered throughout the day, and more here on Sports Scope. Stand by. I'll be back in a minute 19. Get this break out of the way, and we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. After 5 years of doing this program once a week, balancing a 60-hour work week job, I've decided to do the program 5 days a week, 1 hour a night, taking a significant pay cut. So I've started a Patreon page, which is Patreon, Patreon/SportsScope, spelled the same way at the bottom of the screen you see there. For $5 a month, 17 cents a day, you can help support the program. You ask yourself, why Sports Scope? Well, I bring in such big names such as Al Borges, former Auburn offensive coordinator, and I cover the big news in sports that the corporate media will not cover. If you want to contribute more than $5 a month, you can go use the Cash App. The cash tag is Sports Scope, again, spelled the same way. Or you can go to the Zelle app, sportscope@gmail.com. SportsScope has about 5,000 followers and growing. If you want to advertise on the program, you can email me. The word is SportsScope, spelled the same way again, @gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty, now I'm live here on all links. All right, so essentially what happened in this game, and it's the last few Super Bowls I've noticed. By the way, folks, 9-4, one of the better postseasons I've ever predicted. Really bad in Super Bowls here lately, and I went back and think, what am I doing wrong here? What am I missing in these Super Bowls that I'm getting right in the regular season? And the main thing is, it's the second half of these games where these young coaches, Pickles would call them techno geeks, they're not making the proper second half adjustments. You know, I feel like I'm picking the right team. You see the team having a lead, giving it up at the end, second half adjustments in the big game. Okay. For example, Philadelphia practically dominated in every facet of this game. Total plays, time of possession, yardage, total yards, 417 to 72 plays to 53. 10 drives. Check this out. They actually outpassed Kansas City. But here's my thing, folks, is Nick Sirianni's a second-year head coach. You know, and I've mentioned this before in the college game, that a lot of these guys, who's been fired, one of them, which is the head coach Cliff Kingsbury from the Arizona Cardinals, and now Nick Sirianni from the Philadelphia Eagles, refuse to run the ball when the running back out of an I formation or even a one back set. They are giving the running backs the football in the shotgun, and your leading rusher was your quarterback because the defense is falling back in the zone because they can't play you on man-to-man because you got practically a rookie secondary, But, here it is. Quarterback under center, none of that. These are carries by the running backs. 17 carries for 54 yards by the running backs. That is like 3.6 a carry, And, of course, the leading rusher was obviously Jalen Hurts. But, you look at that. You look at the fact that Kansas City did not punt the ball in the second half. Kansas City with the quarterback, check this out, folks. The game it could have been a 17-point game if it wasn't for a strip sack fumble for Kansas City defense. It's a 10-point game. The second quarter's winding down, and Patrick Mahomes re-aggravates that ankle injury. He's hopping off the field. Chad Henne, who's now retired, is warming up on the sideline, and he comes back. This is how bad the second half adjustments for Philadelphia are. He comes back in the second half, and they don't even punt the football. And then on the other side, you've got Jalen Hurts still in the shotgun, refusing to get under center, and this is all because of the coaching, and hand the ball off to the running backs. And you say, well, Robert, they don't have the personnel. They've got the best offensive line in the league. And this notion that maybe they're frauds because they had a light schedule in the regular season and they caught a few breaks in the playoffs, I call that to be a myth. They had a potential 17-point. They had a 10-point lead at halftime. Pro Football Focus had them as the fifth best offensive line entering the season. They're the number one offensive line by all metrics in the Super Bowl, which means they can run the ball on anybody. Lane Johnson, haven't allowed a sack. The left tackle beat him out. And this guy, Sirianni, who is crying at one point. Now, that's a different story. And I'll talk about that later during the national anthem. But he's so overwhelmed to be in this moment that his defensive coordinator, who shouldn't be interviewing for any jobs, by the way. I mean, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, they did nothing. The Kansas City offensive line, no sacks. Clean pockets you can eat food off of with the quarterback with an ankle injury. Brandon Ayuk, 49ers wide receiver, I thought he was having, sour grapes because the 49ers lost to the Eagles. He says this team has holes in it in that secondary. Defense made no adjustments. No, absolutely no adjustments. The offense refused to put the quarterback under center and give the ball to the running back. Miles Sanders, less than 25 yards. This is why I lost my parlays, by the way. Kenneth Gainwell, less than 25 yards. Boston Scott had 8 yards. And then 71 by Jalen Hurts. That's the freaking quarterback. I keep telling people in the NFL, spread offenses do not work. They don't work long-term in college football. I've been saying that all season. Spread offenses don't work long-term. Spread offenses don't work long-term. Spread offenses wear your own defense down. That's what they did. So, again, I reject the whole notion that the team's a total fraud, Now, that being said, Andy Reid, this guy's got what 23 as a head coach years. That don't count assistant years versus a guy in his second year as a head coach. Player for player, 17 Pro Bowlers on Philadelphia Eagles, include alternates. I want to say it's like 6 or 7 on the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you go back to last year, I thought Cincinnati was the better team coming in, playing better football than the Rams. Cincinnati, very physical football team, beat Tennessee to get in, beat Kansas City last year, get in the Super Bowl. They got a early third quarter lead, 20-13. Did not score the rest of the way. Totally shut out most of the second half last year in the Super Bowl. I picked the Cincinnati Bengals. Why? Because Zach Taylor, 3 years as a head coach, 2 or 3 years, I can't remember. That's his first Super Bowl versus Sean McVay, another young guy who said later he was overwhelmed by the Super Bowl prior, a few years before that, when the Rams played the Patriots back in 2018. 2019. He says, I was totally overwhelmed by Belichick in the second half. That was that awful Super Bowl where the Patriots won 13-3. Zach Taylor last year, totally outcoached in the second half. Nothing. Yesterday, Nick Sirianni, best offensive line in football. You've got best quarterback on the other side, limping in the second half, and he doesn't punt. You refuse to run the ball at us off center, and you lost. You got beat. But that is so, Pickle calls them techno geeks. If you're going to hire one now, Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, he's the favorite now to become, supposedly he's supposed to become the Colts, but it's not official head coach here. Now, if it's me, if I'm Jim Irsay, I say to Shane, I recommend you hiring a veteran, former head coach that may have been recently fired or fired within the last 10, 15 years to come be an assistant here, or a Grizzly coordinator. There's plenty of them out there to help you be assistant coach here. Because these guys, the schemes are great. They work, but they don't finish. They do not, these young guys, they do not finish. If they do finish, it's against each other. Okay? Look at the 28-3 blown lead by the Falcons. Belichick versus Kyle Shanahan, early 40s offensive coordinator. Andy Reid dominating the whole game, leading late into the third quarter. The Chiefs and the Niners. Now, I picked the Chiefs in that one. Second half adjustments. Kansas City beats them. And that's where the experience counts. I don't know if they're caught up in the play calling. They're overthinking the room because you're in the Super Bowl. You got 113 million people watching. But these young guys, they're not making the proper adjustments, in-game adjustments. That's the reason why they're losing Super Bowls. So the Chargers going to look good next year. Keelan Moore. But guarantee you, he'll probably, if he's going against a Grizzly veteran in the NFC, not unless he's going against another young techno geek, look for him to make big mistakes in the second half, guys. That's the way I see it. Pickle says Andy shifts on the fly as other coaches do not. Yes. And on the flip side, Pickles, Isaiah Pacheco, they give him the ball. They give Patrick Mahomes under center. Pacheco gets the ball. Breakout game. Rookie. 7th round guy. Runs like Chris Johnson. Looks like Chris Johnson, former Tennessee Titan. 7th round pick. blows it open for Kansas City. He runs the ball in the second half. They do not run the ball in the second half with the quarterback being under center. You've got to give your running back some momentum. How could they see that? I see the same game y'all see. I don't understand that with these young guys. So it's frustrating, but hey, man, it is what it is. There's a lot of takes from this game, but that's what it was. You got outcoached on defense and offense. And the excuse was coming into the game, I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts, 45-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. The shoulder wasn't a problem. Before the re-aggravation, I saw Patrick Mahomes running for first downs. He's like a robot, man, And I don't want to I don't want to go too far without praising Patrick Mahomes. Better offensive line, better defensive line, better secondary, all point towards the Eagles. Better head coach, better quarterback. The quarterback's the ultimate equalizer. That's like having Jordan on your team. That's like having a Shaq from 2000 to 2003. Nobody else is hitting Kobe couldn't hit a shot. Nobody else was going to hit a shot. The other team's shooting their lights out. You need a bucket. You're falling farther and farther behind. 2002 Sacramento Kings. Throw that series out there. Give the ball to Shaq. Take it inside. Dunk it. Take it in. That's like having Mahomes. And what these guys don't realize is, and I like Jalen Hurts. He's a good player. He's came a long way. Patrick Mahomes is arguably he's the best in the game, arguably, and he's got a great coach. And they need each other. They need each other. That's my next segment right there. All right. All right. Let's see. They need each other. Both Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes need each other to put together this sample of greatness. Andy Reid with Donovan McNabb, one Super Bowl loss, several NFC championship games, got fired from Philadelphia. Okay. He had clock management issues. He was trying to overcoach. He was too caught up in the play calling, not enough into game management. Okay. He had Michael Vick for 4 seasons, who made the playoffs, by the way, with the Atlanta Falcons. Kevin Cobb, Nick Foles, career backup, had some notable wins with him. Jeff Garcia. All right. But Mahomes, so did not quite reach the pinnacle with other quarterbacks, but he made every quarterback better. Andy Reid has made he's the best quarterback manager coach I've ever seen. I used to think it was Jim Harbaugh. Then I started seeing Harbaugh in college. Not so much. It's Andy Reid. It ain't even close, other than maybe Bill Walsh. But they need each other. Look at Patrick Mahomes. People say, well, he's got all world talent. He's this, he's that. Patrick Mahomes was a 3-star prospect out of when he went to Texas Tech. He was 16-21 at Texas Tech. All right. Here's some of the write-ups on his scouting report. If I can find them. Gunslinger. He can be reckless with the football. Brett Favre kind of thing. Has some mechanical issues to fix. Throws too many passes back across the field. Still kind of does that, but he gets away with it. Can sell deep balls too far. Will need to learn working under center. He just mastered that. He did that Sunday, So those were the flaws. He was not even the first quarterback taken in the draft. Now he's up there, and I haven't done this. I'll probably do it tomorrow. I don't know where to put him at now. Is he right there with maybe put him right with Peyton Manning right now? He's already in the Hall of Fame. I said that for the game. But so anyways, that was the write-up. This guy had Mitch Trubisky taken before him. Okay. He had John Ross, a major bust at wide receiver, taken before him. You say, well, he was always a great talent. He just went to a bad school. Not so fast. Not so fast. Like Lee Corso would say. John Elway. I interviewed this guy. Coached against John Elway at Cal. When John Elway went to Stanford. Al Borges. John Elway never went to a bowl game at Stanford. Never went to a bowl game. But he was considered the greatest prospect of all time. Number 1 overall pick by a long shot. They've made a documentary, 30 for 30. He was drafted over Jim Kelly, Dan Marino. Hall of Famer. But he played on a bad team. So you can't make that argument for Mahomes. So my point is, Bill Walsh, no Super Bowl wins without Montana. Bill Belichick, on the way to being fired without Brady. Look what Brady was this year without Belichick, without an offensive coach. Brady was a 6th-round pick. He didn't start most of the years in college, folks. He had an awful combine. He needed Belichick. Belichick needed Brady. Mahomes needs Andy Reid. Andy Reid needs Mahomes. Everybody needs somebody. Like the Blues Brothers song says, everybody needs somebody to love. Show me the love. No, everybody needs somebody. You need help. You need help. And it like I said, Bill Walsh, Montana. And we'll say only outlier I can think of would be Joe Gibbs with Doug Williams in '87, and of course Joe Theismann, and then Mark Ripken. I think Mark Ripken in '91, '92. He did it with 3 quarters, but for the most part, when you're talking about dynasty, consistency, deep in the playoffs, it's usually you need that help. It's just not all the quarterback. It's not all the coach. And there's the proof right there in the pudding, guys. So, and you could say he's 66 years old, Andy Reid. And if he's talking about retired, and he says I'm going to come back, but there's been reports he's thinking about it. And I think that Mahomes may be good the first year, but then I think he'll start to get reckless. Then you'll start to see this again. Gunslinger who can be reckless with the football, has mechanical issues to fix, throws too many passes back across the field, can sell deep balls too far, will need to learn to work on the center. That was his scouting report out of college. That was his scouting report. You know, Andy Reid. He needs Andy Reid. Andy Reid needs him. Okay, NBA star Bill fined for shoving the ref. Okay, not big news there. Sometimes so that's my thing, guys. You know, both need each other. All right. Joe Gibbs, Pickle says, a fantastic offensive line and a great running game. Yes, really good running back there. Mahomes, whatever head coach in the NFL wants, but can they coach him right? Can they get everything out of him? You know, can they get everything out of him? That is the truth. Philly defense never changed to prevent. Yeah, they played soft zone the whole time, it seemed like. You know, this team gave up 30 points to Detroit. I should have noticed that. They did give up a lot to Dallas, and they never shifted. And Jamie, by the way, who's fine, Pags, Philly sports guy, he said that he hopes he gets hired away. He said that earlier in the season. This team led the league in sacks, tied for the most interceptions, and just laid a stinker here. No adjustments, no in-game adjustments defensively for them. Now, you know, you got to credit Andy Reid. You got to credit Steve Spagnuolo on defense, but also they didn't run the ball. They didn't run the ball under center, you know. Thursday, I brought on the Philly sports guy. This is the good news. My man gets a little humbled. He's a good guy. Jamie Pax has always come on the program when I've asked him to, and I really appreciate that. You know, he's a good dude. He did put out a post on his TikTok account and his Instagram directly after the game from the Super Bowl. He kind of reminds me of a character from The Simpsons, Krusty the Clown. He's not a clown. He just puts the makeup on like one. But Krusty from The Simpsons will get way up or he'll be way down. Very bipolar clown. Funny cartoon. Love that cartoon. Here's Jamie after the Super Bowl.
Not the ending I wanted. Not the ending I wanted. This is a tough one. Tough pill to swallow. Congratulations to the Chiefs. Tell you, Patrick Mahomes. Yep. He's the best in the game right now. He's the best in the game right now. And you can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. It was a great game. It was a great season. I'll be back next year. You know I ain't done. You know I ain't done. But congratulations to the Chiefs. Great season for them. You know, obviously they get the Lombardi. We'll be back next year. Go Birds.
Yeah. A little bit less enthusiasm about the Go Birds. Yeah. Good guy, though. Good guy. Okay. Now, where do I go next? In life, it's always good not to dance on other people's graves that you don't like, not to taunt people or your adversary, another team, another fan base. If you're a fan, odds are whatever comes back around one way, whatever goes around is going to come around. There's a good chance in life you're going to see things from both ends. And that this is something I thought about while watching this Super Bowl. You know, in 2017, let's think out loud here for a second. Let's say this out loud. Nick Foles, a backup most of his career. I know he started for Chip Kelly for a little while, but most of his career, Nick Foles was a backup in the NFL. And, you know, Carson Wentz gets hurt in 2017. Nick Foles, okay, outduels the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, who's been in 10 Super Bowls and won 7. I just read a week ago how many records Tom Brady has. I just read out all those records. Nick Foles beats him. They were underdogs in this game. All right. Now you flip it back. Now the Eagles are favored by 1.5 to 2 points in a game. Now the Eagles, the same team, have a 10-point lead in the second quarter with the opposing quarterback limping off the field, and his backup. They're a half away, you know, from holding up the Lombardi trophy. And this injured quarterback and this team comes back. When you're favored coming in, Sal Paolantonio been covering his team over 20 years from ESPN, said this is the best team he's ever seen for the Eagles. Jamie Paggs, Philadelphia super fan, came on the program last week, said this is the best Eagle team I've ever seen. He said growing up, he said, you know, that other Super Bowl just had a lot of faith. Nick Foles, a man of faith. God was with him that night. That's what he was insinuating, I guess, and that's fine. But now, as favorites, you lose, like the Patriots did. Things come into full circle if you're around long enough. That's why I tell people, when I see somebody that I really don't care for something bad, I don't mock, I don't taunt, because it's going to come back full circle. You see it in politics all the time. The winner of the presidency, 2 years later, they lose seats in the House. The opposing party gets motivated, and then they get the opposition either takes control of one of the two houses of Congress, or they gain houses, or they take control of both of the houses. Things come into full circle. It comes into it, and that's the way I see it. They won games they shouldn't, and then they lost one I think they shouldn't have lost. It's on Sunday. But that's why treat people right. That's why I don't like to brag. I don't like to boast. I just, because I know it could come back on me, or I've already experienced that type of letdown. I've experienced that. Another example, I was watching the 2000 Baltimore Ravens documentary. Very painful if you're from Nashville and you're a Titans fan. The Titans lost 3 games that year, 3 games by a combination of 7 points. It was their year. They went to the Super Bowl the year before. This Malvy Raven team is coming in town. There's no way Tennessee's going to lose this game. They come in, first series, Titans score a touchdown, up 7-0. I'm ready to go wait in line for AFC Championship game tickets. The Ravens went on to win that game. Okay? You fast forward 16, 17 years later, you get a second-year player named Lamar Jackson. Everybody's talking about he's going to be the next coming. He wins the MVP. And this wild card team, the Tennessee Titans, goes up there and runs it for them in 2019. They run it. Now, Tennessee didn't go on to win the Super Bowl, but the Raven fans were very disappointed. They were very disappointed because they thought they were 14-2 and killing people that year. And Tennessee went up there off their bye week, Ravens a 1 seed, and beat them in Baltimore. Things come full circle, guys. It comes full circle. Now, Tennessee needs to come full circle and win that Super Bowl now, Corey. Now, being from Tennessee, Tennessee did finally beat Florida. And then that's another thing. We got Nick Sirianni crying on the field during the national anthem. I don't think that's because this is a patriotic country. Head coach is caught on camera crying, tears coming down his eyes. My age, 41 years old. And, and it makes me think about those games. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. When for a sports analogy for that, and I can give you a life one, but for a sports analogy for that, when Tennessee finally beat Alabama and finally beat the great Nick Saban last October, I was hearing people throughout my apartment complex play Rocky Top. And I was calling my dad. I hear people say yes, and then I hear somebody across my complex say no. There's still Alabama fans here because they had been humiliated, and I mean humiliated, by Alabama and Florida for years, 10 years. A couple of close games. But most time, it's you can't finish the first quarter. It's so bad. But going back to Nick Sirianni, the 41-year-old coach, is thinking about where he's at right now. When he's watching that national anthem. This guy started off as a defensive back coach in 2004 for Mount Ewan. I don't even know who that is. Then IUP, wide receivers coach from 2006 to 2008. Then he was a Kansas City Chief offensive quality control coach in 2009. He was assistant quarterback coach in 2010, offensive quality control coach in 2011, wide receiver coach in 2012. Andy Reid decides not to retain him. Then he goes back down the offensive quality control coach for the Chargers in 13. Goes up to a better job in 14, quarterback coach. Then wide receiver coach all the way up to 17. And then from 18 to 20, he's offensive coordinator for the Colts. 2 years later, he's a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. 1 playoff appearance, 1 Super Bowl loss there. And he's thinking about the guy who was 23 years old and the defensive back coach, probably working another job, probably staying with another coach or sleeping at the stadium. I've heard these stories all the time, by the way. Guys sleep in their car just to make it. They're chasing happiness in life. You know, that's what they're doing. They're chasing happiness, and that comes at a cost. That tomorrow's Valentine's Day. For you single guys out there like me, that comes at a cost. Most women want financial security. We know that. This is the real world. I don't BS on this show. I get it. You know, I got a whole Robin Givens crew, like Jay-Z said. But what's the guy's name? John Gruden slept in his car early on. Players sleep at the state. Rudy slept in the gym. You know, the Rudy group. But a lot of these coaches, they don't make no money, man. They don't make any money. He's thinking about that guy who was happy to be doing what he's doing, not making peanuts. And it dawns on him during the national anthem that 120-something million people watching him, and he's got $1 billion plus contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what's going through that man's mind, and he could not hold the emotion, and it's all coming out, and it's a beautiful moment, even though they lost the Super Bowl. Beautiful moment, guys. Chase happiness in life, man. Don't fake it. I faked it for years. You know, I faked it for years. Chase happiness, man. You'll be happy. Don't lie to yourself. You know, amazing how a team plays better, loses. Finally, Andy Reid steps on the neck. Andy Reid outcoached. And the Eagles are a better team. I just read the stats that they were the better team on film. This nonsense that they didn't play anybody is just that. It's nonsense. Because they had this team beat. And if you want to crown them, crown them. You know? Let's see if I can find Andy Reid here. Or what's his name? Dennis Green, Corey? If I can find Dennis Green, I'll bring him on here. So I'm going to Jeffrey Deskovic will be back tomorrow, guys. He'll be back tomorrow talking this Super Bowl, talking the NBA trade line. Let me see if I'll play a little bit of Dennis Green here. If I can find him. I know his soundbite's on here somewhere. Love Tupac's new record. Love Dennis Green's one-line quote. But, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully they'll get back. It's very hard to get back. You know, we saw what Dan Marino said in '84 in the limo on the way back. Hey, we'll be back next year. He never got back. Never got back. But, hey, if you want to crown him like Dennis Green said, of course, when I want it to play, it won't play, guys.
You want to crown them? Then crown their ass.
And they let him off the hook. Dennis Green, coach, rest in peace. He having a good time up there in heaven, I'm sure. But, hey, man, it is what it is. You know, tomorrow I'll probably rank Patrick Mahomes. But don't say it's all Andy and it's not all Patrick. I just read Patrick Mahomes had a losing record in college. He was the second quarterback taken in the draft. It wasn't a John Elway prospect. That's not true. That is simply not true. Okay. Good scope, bad scope. I haven't done this one in a while. And I've got to own it when I screw up, guys. Okay. You know, Colin Cowher's got where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. This was good scope, bad scope, Carlos. Good. Let's see. Good. Chiefs would not miss Tyreek Hill. How about that, huh? Actually came out better without paying his high salary. Draft picks and upgraded defense. Let me see if I can find out something on that. I actually had some notes on that. And if I can find it, maybe I have it on my okay, here you go. With the trade of Tyreek Hill, they got remember, they got a second round, a first round, a second round, and then they also got a fourth round pick in 2023 this year. They're still getting picks for that Tyreek Hill trade. Everybody, they're not going to be that good. They're not. I said, yeah, you know, wide receivers are flashy. They look great. But mainly it's the quarterback that's throwing on the ball, and it's a scheme. Okay. These guys contributed yesterday's win for Kansas City. Trent McDuffie, cornerback, made a lot of tackles. Sky Moore got a touchdown yesterday. Meanwhile, Tyreek Hill on Miami, they're on the hook for $31 million cap hit next year. That's quarterback money, folks. $28 million the next year. $24 and $50 million in 26. They're going to have to cut him. They'll have to cut him at some point. So that's your wide, everybody that loves wide receiver crowd. Okay, so the Hill trade paid off. They won the Super Bowl. What else do you want? Okay, bad scope, missing on 3 of the 4 Super Bowls last year. I just talked about that. These first-time head coaches, less than 5 years experience, getting out coach in the second half. Nick Sirianni last year, yesterday, Zach Taylor. A few years before that, Sean McVay Pickles. I can go on. Good scope, needing each other. I was never 100% it's Tom Brady. I was never 100% it was Bill Belichick. Everybody else will say that. Now, Brady and Belichick, Brady a 6th-round pick, didn't start most of college. Belichick never went in. I think he won 1 playoff game. Never been to the Super Bowl as a head coach without Brady. All right. And quite frankly, hasn't won a playoff game since Brady. Maybe that changes this year. Okay. Bad scope. 2 major trends broken Sunday. All right. First MVP to win the Super Bowl since Kurt Warner against the Titans here in Nashville in 1999. Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP on Saturday, wins the Super Bowl on Sunday. Wins the Super Bowl. First one in 23 years. That's a lot of data, folks. Another trend broken. It was a bad scope. Patrick Mahomes, his cap hit for this year was over 15%. That's the first quarterback over 12.1% cap hit since the salary cap was enabled in 1994. Patrick Mahomes did that. The Michael Jordan effect. Better coaching versus young techno geek like Pickles would say. So now he helped the market for quarterbacks. So now you can say, well, if you pay me 15% of the cap, that's 3%. It's a big deal when you're talking millions and millions of dollars. So now he's raised the bar for other quarterbacks. So I was wrong there. Those 2 trends is one of the main trends I picked Philadelphia. Plus, they had better players. You know, they had better players. And they had the league. So you can't say that I was totally off. Good scope. Westbrook was a total disaster in LA. I said he'll be a disaster. One report from ESPN came out last week that he was a vampire sucking the blood out of the organization with his selfish play. Before he got traded, he was caught on camera totally avoiding the team huddle. Westbrook was a disaster. And it's really sad. And I know he's hurt, but sometimes we got to look in the mirror and say, maybe the problem's me. 5 years, five teams in the last few years, maybe it's me. So, like I said, I like to admit I'm wrong, and I was wrong there. Okay, Pickles. Next Super Bowl, Tyreek Hill will be buying a ticket. Possibly. Yeah, he got his money. But it's quarterback scheme. Don't forget that. Offensive line. People see how people poo-poo that? No sacks. Orlando Brown, left tackle. That's the guy you pay. That's a left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, in case for you all don't know. Hassan Reddick led the league. He had a career year. Pinned him up like a catcher's mitt, man. Pinned him up. He looked like Orlando Pace out there, guys. All right. Okay, I'm trying to see. Of their other observations, think about this. 113 million people watched the game the other night. And this is a billion-dollar industry, the NFL. $1 billion. And the players cannot keep their footing in the on the field. I mean, guys are slipping everywhere. You know, you got to do something about that, NFL. I mean, the field is too slick, man. You provide the players with better cleats. Some players are changing cleats after halftime with more spikier cleats, but you can't have a field like that. This is these people's livelihood, man. They work their whole life, some of these players. Mom and dad. Tell a story the other day about Rashawn Gary. He's a former first round pick from the Michigan Wolverines, went to Green Bay Packers. You know, I watched this All or Nothing documentary on him about when they were with the Michigan Wolverines. It was over the whole team, you know. His mom moved with him from New Jersey to Michigan to support him because he was there to bring the family out of all that. Think about the pressure of that. His mother moved with him. She gave him some good advice too. She said he was having trouble in one of these speech classes or whatever. And I thought she was going to get on to him. They were having dinner one night. And you know what she said? She said, take some time for you. Take some time for you so you won't burn out doing all this. Take some personal time just to have some fun. You know, I thought, dang, that's pretty good. You know, well, Rashawn Gary went on to later be a first-round pick. Been playing with the Packers for a number of years, and they made it. Let's get the field squared away, okay? Let's the NBA. No NBA player, no college, nobody should in the gym should ever have to take their hands and rub it across the bottom of their shoes because the dust is too slick on the floor. That's a problem with the basketball shoes. You know, that's something else I've noticed. These shoemakers for Jordans or whatever brand you got by Nike or whatever, they shouldn't have the bottoms of those shoes should not be slick because you can turn an ankle doing that, by the way, because of the dust. cross trainers. The grips on cross training shoes, Adidas, New Balance, that should be on the bottom of basketball shoes. That should be on the bottom of basketball shoes. That's another observation. This stuff is these guys' livelihood, man. It looks like it came to you or me, but when you start reading about it, when you start seeing moms moving across the country, I mean, that's a major sacrifice. That's a lot of pressure for one thing, you know? So, yeah, I think it's okay to get the field squared away or at least have the players prepared. Luckily, players didn't have another set of cleats. I thought that was really weird, you know? But anyways, okay. Bounce back here. Now, the Jets, guys, in other news, they've hired the Titans former offensive coordinator, Todd Downey. For those you don't, as a passing game coordinator, what's all these? You got all these titles, and these young guys, these they can't make second half adjustments, and I don't even see the coaching tape, man. You know, so Todd Downey, who was fired from the Titans, he was the guy from the Titans, former offensive coordinator. Remember, he got the DUI after the big game that the Titans go up and beat Green Bay. You know, he got the DUI here in Nashville, actually technically in Williamson County, and plus the Titans, their offense kind of sputtered. Like I said last week, I blame most of that on 3 offensive linemen being missing for primarily much of the season, including Ben Jones, their center. And I think plus that DUI looked kind of it looked bad on the Titans organization. So now the Jets have hired him. And there is one reporter made a note here that Downey, now I don't think this is any relation to the toilet paper. It's probably just a coincidence. We'd have known it by now. I kid. He has ties to Tannehill and Derek Carr. Now, we know he has ties to Tannehill. I just mentioned that. But this NFL reporter said he has ties to Derek Carr. By the way, like I said, what did I say last week? Hard pass on the Saints. We'll get into more Derek Carr talk probably tomorrow. Maybe that's something I'll ask Jeffrey Deskovic is that where Chicago? What would be a good? It's not going to be with the Saints with $50-60 million over in the cap. Then you got to pay him too, and you got a defensive-minded head coach who's probably going to be on the hot seat because he's probably Dennis Allen's probably just coordinator material. Hard pass, really exciting and interested to see where Derek Carr goes. The Jets can't afford it. They can make it happen. The Ravens can't afford it. By the way, that's in the news too. For all of you that says I'm crazy for selling on Lamar Jackson, Baltimore said maybe we'll think about it. Was we're only $100 million off on contract extension for Lamar Jackson. Green Bay never trade Aaron Rodgers. Now they're maybe, yeah. So those are big stories to follow over the next few days. And Carlos says, don't want Carr here either. Carlos, you got to pay attention, man. Get him with the right coach. Let's see what happens. Now, the right coach might not be in New York. But the Jets had the defensive rookie of the year and the offensive rookie of the year of the weekend. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. They missed on the big piece, which is Zach Wilson. Carr is going to force the Raiders. Yeah, he'll be cut, Pickles. He'll probably be cut tomorrow. Because they owe him $40 million plus on Wednesday, the 15th, Mars Valentine's Day. They owe him $40 million plus tomorrow. So my guess is he's going to be cut tomorrow. That's going to be a big. And Carlos says, if Tannehill comes here, I'm going to focus on college football. Yeah, I would love to get Tannehill up there for a second-round pick. But that's wishful thinking, Carlos. if we could get Tannehill up there for a second round pick, and then the Titans turn around and Carr, a man of spiritual, man of faith, he would fit in Nashville like a round peg. He would go from Sin City to Holy City / Music City. Not saying he'll set the world on fire. I would rather get a quarterback on a rookie contract personally, but that's just me. But that would be interesting. Here's the thing, guys. Carr will be a free agent. If you cut Carr, you could sign Carr to a team-friendly deal. Now, he might not take it. You can sign him to a team-friendly deal. The Ravens can make it happen. Pickle says Miami. Yeah. With Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And by the way, news came out over the weekend. Tua says he's glad that Miami set him down for concussion. Maybe he's coming to realization, hey, man, maybe I have some problems here. Maybe Tua will be a quarterback coach. He's a nice guy. I like him. But maybe he's just not built for this game. He's not built like Mahomes. Mahomes built from a different brand, man. I mean, that dude is Iron Man. That was some good stuff. That was heroic stuff he did on Sunday. But Pickle says he'll eat the rest of the Raiders. That's the Raiders. They screw things up. That's the Raider team I know. The one that's always screwing things up. Can't get out of their own way. They usually draft the fastest guy in the draft. That he's overdrafted and he has no skills. That's usually the Raiders I've known my whole life. I don't know the Raiders in the 70s. It was before my time. Back when they were killing it. What's the guy's name? Pickles, the big guy that played the big defensive tackle that recently passed away. That used to play on that 2000 Raven team. I was watching that documentary the other day, and he says he went back to Al Davis. He says, "Don't you wish you would have paid me now when they beat the Raiders?" He knocked Rich Gannon out of the game, and they beat the Raiders to go to the Super Bowl. And Pickles, this guy, his name will come to me here in just a minute. The big guy, Pickles, just recently passed away. Defensive tackle. Yeah. Tony Saragusa. He went up to Al Davis. As Al Davis, in the preseason of the 0-1, he made him an offer. And the next day, he rescinded the offer. And he offered him much less money. So Saragusa goes to Baltimore. And Saragusa, in Oakland, AFC Championship game, January 2001, knocks Rich Gannon out of the game. Ravens go to the Super Bowl. He goes to Al Davis. He said, "Yeah, don't you wish you would have paid me that money?" That's how things turn around. Al Davis is, of course, I'm sure it ticked off Davis, but he got the last laugh, man. Yeah, big Tony. So they got that documentary cut just before he died, man. Just before he died. And I hate that. He's a funny guy, but he did rub it in a lot. Sure did. Carlos says the coaches are a mess with the Jets players have potential. The potential can backfire if this management keeps missing on opportunities. Yeah, I think they have the former Broncos coach as their OC. And, of course, now they've got Todd Downey as their pass game coordinator, which could be recipe for disaster, not unless they get a guy like a Derek Carr. So, yeah, I'll probably talk about him. Jeffrey Deskovic will be on tomorrow. And then Wednesday, John Restiano. This guy lives in the Buffalo area, but he's a Bears fan. Now, John had me on his show, the Spitballing Podcast, last Friday. So now I'm going to bring John on the program Wednesday. So I've got Wednesday covered. I got tomorrow covered. Thursday, who knows what I'll talk about. But I've got some good stuff here. Got some good guests coming up tomorrow, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time here on Sports Skope. Don't miss it. Got a great show this week. Had a great line of guests last week, everybody. So anyways, I'll see you all tomorrow. Same place, same time here on Sports Skope.